There are three teams in the NBA playoffs right now who are down 3-2 that should not really be down 3-2. First, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, who the other day blew a 17-point lead in the second half versus the Brooklyn Nets, who did not have Kyrie Irving, and James Harden was basically doing cardio out there. Granted, Kevin Durant did go off, but still, the Bucks should have won that game. They definitely had their chances in the fourth quarter. I'm not trying to criticize Kevin Durant here, but I'm just saying in the last 7 minutes of that game, he wasn't really scoring that much. I mean, I know he hit that crazy three-pointer, but besides that, he wasn't really scoring that much in the fourth quarter or down the stretch of that game. The Bucks had their chances. Their offense was atrocious in the fourth quarter. Too many Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton ISOs. They got the most results whenever they went to Giannis in the post, when he was guarded by Jeff Green and James Harden, although he did shoot that fadeaway over Harden for some reason. And of course, he fumbled that pass on the final possession. Secondly, we have the Utah Jazz, who, like the Bucks, kinda got destroyed in the third quarter of their Game 5 loss versus a Clippers team that did not have Kawhi Leonard, and now they have to go win on the road in Game 6 in order to stay alive. And of course, we have the 76ers, who blew a 26-point lead to the Atlanta Hawks. They were at home. They got outscored 40-19 in the fourth quarter. That's a common theme between all three of these teams. They had second half collapses. The Sixers, like the Bucks, ran atrocious offense in the fourth quarter. I don't think they scored in the final few minutes of that game up until that meaningless Seth Curry jumper at the last second. But I don't think they scored over the course of the last I don't know how many minutes of that game. And Embiid missing 2 free throws, what? Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. And Embiid had a good game too. I don't know what the hell happened there, man. Anyway, between these three series, which team has the best chance to come back and win? Which team should really be looking to close it out in Game 6, and if they let it go 7, they're going to be in trouble? Well, between these three series, I would say the Sixers have the best chance of coming back. And the reason why I say that is because the Sixers, I think, are pretty clearly a better team than the Hawks. I thought the Sixers were going to win this series in 5. I was pretty surprised at how Game 1 went, but then I thought maybe, given the fact that the Sixers won Game 2, won Game 3, they were up big in Game 4. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that earlier. They had an 18-point lead in Game 4, lost that. 26-point lead in Game 5, lost that. Now we're down 3-2. So basically, they are a better team than the Hawks, but they just blew it the last 2 games. I mean, they were the 1 seed for a reason. They should be a much better team than the Hawks. They just need to put it together for 48 minutes. And while I don't know if they will do that, I definitely think they can do that. So I would say they are in the best position between these three teams down 3-2, and are the most likely to overcome this deficit. I would say the Jazz are the second most likely to force a Game 7 and possibly win the series. I say this because I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to play again in this series, and he might not play again for the rest of the playoffs. So the advantage the Jazz had going into Game 5, they will still have in Game 6 and a potential Game 7. And on top of that, they still might get Mike Conley back at some point. Maybe, maybe not. Of course, the question is, how good will Conley be when he's back? I said this on Twitter and in a community post recently. The Jazz desperately need Mike Conley, man. They just don't have enough guys who can create offense besides Mitchell and Conley. And Mitchell isn't healthy either right now. Conley and Gobert in particular have good chemistry with each other. I know Conley isn't as good as Kawhi, although I think one could make a reasonable argument that Conley is more valuable to the Jazz than Kawhi is to the Clippers. I never counted the Clippers out even without Kawhi, just because I know this team has a lot of guys. The Clippers are probably the best tough shot making team in the NBA. You can do everything right on defense and they can still make the shot. They have a lot of guys on their team who can make contested three-pointers, contested mid-range jump shots. There's Kawhi Leonard himself, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris. Luke Kennard to a certain extent, I guess, in regards to three-point shooting. So because of that, I never really counted them out, because if they make enough threes, they will always have a chance. Now the Jazz also make a lot of three-pointers, but they don't really have guys who make like those tough three-pointers, like those guys who, you put your hand up, you do everything right on defense, and they'll still make the shot anyway. Maybe you could say Bogdanovich, but that's or Donovan Mitchell himself, I guess. The point I am laboriously trying to make is that if the Jazz get Conley back, they may still be alive. I don't know if they are going to. Either way, I'm not completely counting them out yet. In addition, the Utah Jazz, if they can survive Game 6, will have Game 7 at home. And the Jazz do have the second best home court advantage in the NBA, behind the Denver Nuggets. And we all know home teams go on to win Game 7 an overwhelming majority of the time. People rightfully recognize that the Denver Nuggets have the best home court advantage in the NBA because of their higher altitude arena, but the Jazz have the second highest altitude. Salt Lake City is the second highest altitude NBA city, and the team that is third is a distant third. Like, if you look at the map, it's Denver number 1, Utah number 2, and then it's a huge drop off after those two. If the series goes 7, I do like Utah's chances. And Milwaukee and Brooklyn, I think the Bucks have the least chance of coming back because their Game 7 would be on the road, and by that point, James Harden might be feeling good again, and in Game 6, he might also be feeling good as well, I don't know. So the advantage the Sixers have is they're going against an inferior team. With the Jazz, they're going against a team that's never going to be healthy, and the Jazz might get healthier. But with the Nets-Bucks series, it's like the Bucks are going against the better team, their Game 7 is on the road, the Nets will only be healthier as the series goes on. I doubt the Bucks are going to come back and win this series. Maybe force Game 7. They're at home tonight for Game 6, but I do not see them. I think they have the least chance of coming back and winning.